the PNR agreement. This is something that exists in some countries in the European Union, but also there is an agreement between the EU and the US since a few years back. And it is key to solve several terrorist attempts, but also other cross-border severe crimes such as drug trafficking and people trafficking. As you know, we are now negotiating a new agreement on this, and I'm confident that we will succeed, as we did in the TFTP. We will find a satisfactory solution for both the EU and the US and our citizens and passengers that meets security demands with a robust protection of personal data. Because there is no contradiction between privacy and security. I am sure that we can achieve both these objectives. Sometimes the US and the EU get stuck on details. And these details are, of course, important, but they shouldn't prevent us, and they're not preventing us, to look at a joint vision for the coming years. We need to look beyond the immediate future and identify the long-term challenges.
It is an issue that is really at the top of the agenda on both sides. And I spend a lot of my time, frankly, as the ambassador here, trying to dispel what is, I think, a sort of a dangerous caricature. And that is a caricature of the United States as being principally interested and concerned about security, and Europeans, on the other hand, being principally interested in privacy. And people tell me this all the time. They say, why is it that you only care about security when we care about privacy here in Europe? I completely reject this notion because it sets up this equation that it's almost like a balancing scale, that if you have more security, you have less privacy, and if you have more privacy, you have less security. And I hear very erudite people talking about these trade-offs. We categorically reject this notion. We believe that in order to protect all of our citizens, we have to maximize their security and maximize their privacy, and that we can do both. We have to recognize the data privacy issues that Europeans care about, and Europeans need to recognize the data privacy issues that we care about. And so the systems have to be fundamentally reconcilable. And I think they are, and we've proven they are. Commissioner Malmström talked about TFTP, and that was a very intense moment in our transatlantic relationship. And basically, we had to take into account that there are certain European constitutional precepts that are very important, things like retention of data and scope of data collection and oversight. And actually, we have similar precepts in our privacy laws, but we have a different privacy framework. It's no less protecting of our citizens, but it is dispersed throughout federal and state government and lots of agencies. It's sort of an interstitial fabric of protection. And once we realized that we can reconcile these two systems, we were able to work our way through. And I think, and I'm confident that we'll do the same on the PNR agreement and the umbrella data protection agreement and all the other issues that we deal with Europe.
I fully agree with what both Cecilia and Bilkana said. I'm convinced it's not mutually exclusive, data collection and data protection, because of the changing nature of the threat. Not that much any longer with a very central organization like AQ Core, very sophisticated, very structured, but more with franchises, but mainly homegrown terrorism, foreign fighters, people leaving Europe to fight abroad and come back to Europe, and many of them flying below the radar. So in order to detect suspicious transactions, suspicious telephone calls, suspicious movement, cross-border movement, we need to collect more data. I'm sorry, I'm in favor of collecting more data. Relevant data, not a huge amount of it, but relevant data. And at the same time, you have to build in each and every instrument, and it changed from one to another, flanking measures in terms of data protection. I don't like the metaphor of the balance. There is no balance to strike between security and freedom, between data collection and data protection. But you have to, when you design a mechanism, TFTP, PNR, whatever, Primo, whatever, have tough flanking measures so that you only collect the necessary data. You are proportionate. I'm in favor of very strong criminal sanctions against those who use data which is collected for CT purposes and which use it for other purposes. We can ensure the two at the same time.